and it is the, I think, third Sunday of the week or the month, which means it's Samanka time, Samanka Place. Yay! This is one of the nights I preach, third and fourth Sundays of the month. We're at Samanka Place and doing their chapel. We just miss everyone so badly. It's great. Hey, Ladina's here. Ladina's always with us too. She does poetry and ministers to the ladies there. It's just awesome. I know they miss us like crazy. Lisa's here. She's always part of the team that goes to Samanka. And you'll notice tonight I'm a little bit more informal. I don't know why, just kind of feeling that way. Got my Jesus, I love Jesus hat on. It's great. So yesterday I was at a wedding. Hey, Wendy, how you doing? Good to see you. I was at a wedding. Actually, I did a wedding, and it was kind of weird. I got a call on Wednesday from a college kid that I know up at Corbin University, and she had planned her wedding for June with a nice young man. And given COVID, she's not sure she can actually pull off a big wedding where everyone can be there, because of the social distancing and all that kind of stuff. And so she asked me, hey, Patrick, nice to see you. She says, hey, if we get married Saturday, could you marry us? Well, I wasn't doing their wedding in June, but you bet I'm happy to, I am happy to go anywhere and preach the gospel. And I don't care whether it's a wedding or a funeral or baptism or, you just invite me for lunch. We're going to talk about the gospel. And so I went up to Hood River, drove 2 hours up to Hood River, and did this wedding. So in the middle of this thing, we get them there, and it's really informal. It's great. And I got my little book open, and I'm starting my message. Hi, Cynthia. And I'm starting to get into my message. And there's this gazebo that we're underneath kind of thing. And I didn't see the bird land just above us on the gazebo. But I think the bride did, because I watched her eyes go like this. And there was this worried look on her face. And I'm like, I wonder what the heck's that's about. My sermon's not that bad. And all of a sudden on my book, this bird dookies right on my stuff. And it's a hilarious moment. And the bride's like, I got to get out of the way. Because, the bride doesn't want to get dookied on. The groom's kind of laughing about this whole thing. And I'm thinking to myself, not today, Satan. I'm going to do this service no matter what. You can't stop me by having a bird dookie. And I'm joking about how this bird's from Satan. And we're all having a laugh. And then there's some hesitation to get back under the gazebo. And I'm like, come on, let's just get this thing started. It doesn't matter whether the bird craps on us or not. We're going to get married today. Hey, Ken Reed's with us. And so I, gave me an idea for a sermon tonight. I called the sermon "Not Today, Satan." As a matter of fact, I've got my shirt. Lisa got this for me. My "Not Today, Satan" shirt. So I'm all set to give this sermon, and I'm going to talk about how we tell Satan not today during this COVID-19 environment. There's a lot of stuff going on here that's really, really subtle. Really, really subtle about our faith and what's going on in terms of the spiritual warfare. And so I want to kind of get into tonight talking about how Satan attacks us. Hi, Nancy. Nice to see you. Hey, Renee's with us too. Hey, good to see you guys. I'm going to talk tonight about how Satan kind of attacks us in these moments where it's quiet. And how we can't be just kind of unaware of what he's doing. It's one thing when we're going through spiritual warfare, when things are really active and we expect it, and we're in the church and we're out there doing ministry and we're proselytizing and evangelizing. We expect all that stuff. But what if you're just sitting at home, minding your own business, doing little videos? What's the attack there? It doesn't seem like very much going on, but there is. And so I want to get into it tonight so that we can keep our fervor. We're not supposed to lose our fervor for the gospel just because circumstances change. So I've got some notes here I'm going to have to go to because, I wrote some more extensive things down today. So when you read the Bible, you learn in Genesis that there are basically three major categories of sin. And we've been through this before. There's pride of life, there's lust of the eyes, and there's lust of the flesh. If you think about it, every single sin, everything we rebel against God about, comes under one of those three categories: pride of life, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. You name the sin, I'll tell you which category. And so what we're first understanding is how does Satan work? What does he do? And I know people they see Satan behind every tree. I'm not one of those guys. I am one of those guys, though, that believes that what the Bible says. And the Bible says there is a spiritual warfare. Our flesh is warring against our spirit. Satan's trying to tempt us certain ways, and we're trying to fight that. And I believe all that stuff. So all I want to do is kind of go through things. Remember in the garden, Eve is telling the serpent that there's only one tree in the garden she's not supposed to eat from, and she tells the serpent, if we eat of that, we'll die. And Satan says, oh, you're surely not going to die. And that's like a half truth, because she's not going to keel over and die, but she's going to have spiritual death, right? And then Satan says, if you eat this, you will be like God, knowing the difference between good and evil. But the key is you will be like God. This is what they call the pride of life. You will be like God. Now remember, Satan gets kicked out of heaven because, well, he wanted to sit on God's throne. He was going to be like God. He thought he knew better than God, as a matter of fact. He thought God was not doing a great job. He wanted to, get rid of management and move up. And of course, that's not how the game works. And he got kicked out, right? And so he has been spending all his time down here trying to get us to do the same thing that he did, which is kind of rebel against God by saying we're the same as him. Or worse, we're smarter and better than him. And so when you're dealing with pride of life issues, what you're dealing with is that you are like God. He's no different or better or smarter or faster or anything than you. And when you get to that place where you're like God, then it means your opinions have the same validity and weight as God's. Now you can see the slippery slope right there, I hope. If not, call me. So that's the first thing with pride of life. Satan's always trying to convince us that our ideas, our opinions, our thoughts about things, everything in the world, and our will is just as valid as God's will and God's opinions and God's ideas. And certainly they're not, right? But that's the temptation, and then it moves on. Then you start thinking, you know what? I'm reading scripture here, and I think God's wrong. I think he's wrong about this. I think what he wrote really isn't his word. I don't think that's what really happened. I don't think that's what he really meant. I think that was cultural. I think. You see, the key word in that is I. You become very self-focused. It's not about doing God's will anymore. It's about doing your will, which conflicts with God's will, and then you think God's wrong. I think Francis Chan put it once. He said that God's unreasonable. I love that one. We find God unreasonable. That's not how I would do it, so he must be wrong, right? And then you slide even further, because once you say I'm the same as God, and then say God's pretty unreasonable here, that's not how I would do it. I think we have a different decision to make. Then you get to a place where you don't have to listen to God. You don't even need God, because you're your own God. And that's what pride of life is all about, choosing you over God. And now I'm not going to tell you that following God's easy. I always joke with people that being a Christian is not for sissies. It's a hard lifestyle. There's a lot of tough things we have to do. We have to die to ourselves, pick up our cross daily, bear with each other, not judge, forgive as we've been forgiven, show grace, show mercy. Ugh, who wants to do all that stuff, right? We got to be humble. Yeah, that's tough. But it's worth it. And so what we fight against in our flesh is this pride of life. And Satan's no help, right? Satan's always trying to get in our grill, trying to make us think that our ways are better than God's ways. And it doesn't matter whether it's the culture, it doesn't matter whether it's your opinion, it doesn't matter what it is. That's the game. So how does this play out with the COVID-19? What am I driving at here? Well, let me put it this way. So you're at home. What are we on? I don't know, it's Blur's Day. We don't call them days anymore. Every day is a Blur's Day. We are on week 8, 9, 10. I don't know what it is. Have you been going to church every Sunday? Have you been reading your Bible every day? Have you been praying even more? Have you been tithing? Have you been doing all the things, communicating with the congregation and your friends? Have you been doing all the things you normally would do? Or has COVID-19 got you to a place where you're saying, I don't really need to watch church services. I'll get back to that when they start up again. It's okay. Or, you know what? I don't need to stay in touch with my Christian friends. We all know it's okay. We'll get back together when we get back together. They know I love them. Or I don't need to read my Bible. It's pretty quiet right now. I don't think there's really anything going on. I'm good. I'll catch back up into my Bible reading when all this is over. I don't need to pray more. Everything's fine. I'll pray for those that have COVID and their families, but I'm not going to increase my prayer life because, I got time, but you don't need to do that because it's okay. I'm okay. I don't need anything from God right now. It's quiet. And that's where he gets you. That's where Satan gets you. That's the pride of life thing. I don't need God right now. I'm okay. Well, here's the rub. None of us are okay. None of us are ever okay. That's why Jesus died on a cross, because none of us are okay. Right. And this is funny because with pride of life, the idea that we are like God, or that we are smarter than God, or that he is whatever, he's oppressive, or he is unreasonable, or whatever it is. It's exact opposite of Jesus, isn't it? Jesus says, I don't do anything my Father doesn't tell me. He says, I and my Father are one. There's no difference. And so while Jesus is our example, and honestly, we're supposed to strive to be Christ-like, right? That's what we do as Christians. The example we have is the exact opposite of pride of life. Jesus was humble. Jesus did only what the Father told him to do. He didn't follow his own will. He melded his will and God's will, right? So when we get to this subtle place where things are quiet, I think we're in more danger. I actually think that it's more dangerous for our spiritual warfare when we don't think anything's going on, right? Now, I always tell people that Satan doesn't worry about the people that aren't in the faith. Why worry about them? They can't do anything. They're just not effective for the kingdom. So who cares? Christians that are active, he worries a lot about. And the reason is this. Jesus told us in Matthew 28, go out to Jerusalem, Samaria, and all the world, baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, making disciples, teaching them everything I taught you. When you're that Christian, you are dangerous. You're spreading the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. We're doing that part, right? Satan really hates those people. But if you're apathetic, you don't care one way or the other. You're a Christian, but I don't really have to practice my faith. I don't really have to do much with it. Satan's like, I got you. You are no danger to me. You're not a threat. And so I'll just make you think that you can be your own God. You can do your own thing. You don't need to follow God's will. And honestly, I'm not going to make your life miserable. I'm going to make it pretty comfortable. See, I think comfort is as much as we all want it, right? We all want to be comfortable. I think it can have an evil design behind it, because comfort will get you lazy. Comfort will get you to the place where you don't feel like you have to drive. You'll lose your incentive and motivation. Comfort can be one of those things that's really just not a great thing. And so, I think we have to be really careful about pride of life. This idea that in this quiet COVID time, I don't really need God because nothing's going on. And I would tell you, for me, I need God every second, every moment, in every area of my life. There's not one place I don't need God. There's not one place Jesus doesn't have to be in my life in order for my life to have any meaning, to have any structure, organization, to have any value, to have any fruit, to do any of that. In myself, I am nothing. I can't do anything. And so if you really want to follow the faith, and it's a big if, and it is a process, but if you truly want to follow the faith, you understand that Jesus is everything. And that this idea that Satan gives us about pride of life, that somehow or another, I can make decisions outside of God. I can make decisions outside of Jesus. I can do things on my own. That's the falsehood. Now, is it half true? Sure, I can do anything. Paul told us that all things are permissible, but not all things are good. I think that's true. You can do anything you want. You got free will. Go out and run buck naked through the forest. I don't care. But is it good? Is it God honoring? Right? And this is the things we have to choose. When I get this pride of life thing, and I get it, everyone gets it, right? I get prideful like everybody else. I fight it every day. I got to ask myself, is what I'm choosing, is it good? Is it honoring to God? If Jesus were with me, which he is, would he go, hey, good job, Tom? Or he'd be going, dude, really? I think I get the second one. And so I just think we have to be aware that especially when it's quiet, especially when there's not a lot going on, especially when there's not a lot of friction between people and we're not out there just banging the gospel and doing ministry work, we're in danger. It's always quiet before the storm, is what they say, right? I think that when it's quiet, we should be looking for those kind of attacks, but they're much more subtle than what you're usually going to get. So let's go to the next stuff, right? Let me go one more thing. So with this pride of life, the question gets to be, do you wear a mask in public? I mean, let's get practical. Do you meet in groups? Do you open your businesses? Do you go to church? Well, I just wrote a blog on that if you're interested in about the difference between giving unto Caesar's what's Caesar's versus giving unto God's what's God's. I wrote a fairly lengthy blog on how you manage that. But I would tell you that my pride of life would tell me I don't need to do any of that stuff. I don't need to wear a mask. I don't need to obey the government. I don't do that. I know better. But what does God say? God says, give unto Caesar's what's Caesar's. He says that all leaders that are chosen by him, good, bad, or indifferent. He tells us that that the king has a sword for a reason. Paul tells us that. We learn that we're not really being oppressed. Oppression is when you get arrested in China and your family's killed because you have a page of the Bible. That's oppression. Oppression is what Jesus went through when he was in first century Roman occupation and all the apostles were killed for their faith and they were arrested and all the different things. That's oppression of totalitarianism. Having me wear a mask to be polite to other people, big deal. So just word to the wise: don't get so prideful. Don't think your ways are right and God's ways are wrong. And if you need a real tangible example of this, let me bring you to the Bible. There's a scene where Paul comes back to Jerusalem and he meets with Peter, right? Remember this, and Paul had been Saul, and the disciples were pretty wary of him because he was trying to kill them, right? So Paul comes back and he's talking about giving the gospel to the Gentiles. And Paul is told by Peter that he has to go through this ritualistic bath and do all this hair cutting and all this stuff. Did he have to do that? No. And remember, the argument was Peter was still of the idea that they had to go through the Jewish rituals in order to be a Christian, in order for Paul to administer the Christianity to the Gentiles. And Paul argued against that. But when Paul came to Jerusalem, he submitted to Peter and said, sure, I'll do the ritual bath and whatever. I don't have to. There's no reason to. It doesn't mean anything. There's no value to it. But I'm not going to make you stumble over it. I'm not going to get you mad about it. I'm just going to do it. I feel the same way about masks. I don't feel like I got to wear a mask everywhere. I don't feel like I'm in danger. Yeah, I've got a low immune system, but I'll live through it. And if it's my time, it's my time. I don't worry about that stuff. But I know other people get freaked out. And so I wear a mask just because I don't want to freak other people out. Does it help me? I don't know. And I don't really care. If I meet Jesus tomorrow, bueno. But I don't want to make my brother stumble. And so I do wear the mask. And I think that we see in Scripture, there's plenty of examples of doing the right thing. And it is about humility. It's about humbling yourself. It's about thinking about others and putting them ahead of you. It's not about you. And remember this. This is really important. Whatever you give up in this life, you're going to get 100-fold back when you get to heaven. It's all an investment, right? So let's say you're nice to somebody. Imagine how nice Jesus is going to be to you. If you submit yourself to something, imagine what you're going to get reward-wise from heaven. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So never think that I'm so sacrificial. Oh my gosh, my rights are being violated, blah, blah, blah. Come on, get over it. You're not oppressed. And we get to worship the Lord. And we should be showing what that looks like. We should be showing what Jesus looks like in all our actions. So in this COVID-19 environment, don't fall in the trap of pride of life. Don't fall in the trap thinking me. If you are making I statements, I feel this, stop, just stop. What does Jesus say? What would Jesus have you do? Because we are under attack. I see Christians all over the place that make me cringe. It makes our witness look so silly. I'm not going to say that every state is doing the right thing with churches, because some have gone over their constitutional authority, and that'll play itself out. But you're not being arrested and killed for your faith. The church is thriving. Nothing will stand against the church. The gates of hell won't stand against the church. Relax. We're okay. We need to show the true Jesus, which is love and compassion and all those different things he tells us to. I don't see Jesus rebelling against the Romans. What I see him doing is preaching the gospel. Now, did he fall and worship Caesar? No, that's God's domain. You give unto God what is God's, but give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, and get over it. So don't have that pride. Next one, lust of the eyes. How does lust of the eyes fit into COVID? Well, I'm going to talk about that. Lust of the eyes is basically seeing something shiny and wanting it. You desire it. And you go back to the garden. One of the things you'll read is Eve saw the fruit and saw that it was good for eating. She saw it. So she's looking at this tree. She knows she's not supposed to eat of it. And she goes, no, it looks pretty good. That looks pretty darn good. You ever been in the grocery store? I have this happen all the time. You're in the grocery store and you've been through the store, you're in a line, and the person in front of you, behind you, has stuff that you didn't buy, but you're like, dang, that looks really good. I should have gotten some of that, right? That's kind of lust of the eyes. You're like, wow, I didn't see that, or I should have done that. Well, this is a little bit bigger kind of thing. It's you have desire for stuff you're really not supposed to have, or you're not meant to have. Envy comes from this. Rebellion against God's ways come from this. I mean, a lot of stuff comes from lust of the eyes. And so think about this. If you have lust of the eyes and you see something you desire, then pride of life kicks in. Then you say, God's wrong about this. I should have it. Word of the wise, if you ever have this idea that I deserve something, I deserve, if you ever use those words, just kick yourself in the butt. You don't deserve anything. I don't deserve anything. There's nothing I deserve. I deserve to go to hell, schmuck. I'm saved through grace. God's chosen me, which is outstanding. I don't deserve anything. So for me, when I have lust of the eyes, because I do, there's things I desire. And you go, man, I really deserve to have that. Man, I got to just slap myself because no, I don't. But what I'm doing is being prideful, saying, I know God doesn't want me to have that, or hasn't enabled me to have that, or it's not time for me to have that, or whatever it might be. But I'm going to do it anyway. Then I've decided I'm God. I can decide for him. He's wrong, right? I do deserve that. And that's very, very dangerous ground for you in your life. Anybody do that? Show of hands. If you have, how'd it work out? Most of the time, it just doesn't work out very well. So just a word of the wise, that's how one of the ways lust of the eyes plays out. So in this environment, lust of the eyes, how much toilet paper did you buy? How about those guys hoarding toilet paper or hand sanitizer? It's like, dude, really? That's lust of the eyes. You see it and you're like, oh, I got to have it. And I got to have a bazillion of it. Well, did you ever think about your fellow man and that they might need some too? Of course not. Well, how about the guys that are really bad? They hoard it and then they try to sell it at an extortion price. Bad. It's just evil. And so, but you can think, you know what? But we all need toilet paper, right? And but there's a way to do it. So let me share, just as one Christian guy, a brother of yours, how I do it. Every time I go out, I see if there's Kleenex or toilet paper, or whatever. I just grab one. I don't grab 7. I grab 1. Every time I'm out, I grab one. And we have plenty. I got 4 people in my house, and it works out just fine. I did buy some from China, which is hilarious. So this is a great story. So in China, they got these little tiny rolls of toilet paper. I don't know if it's because they're smaller than us or they just jip us, but these little Chinese rolls of toilet paper are hilarious. They're about 1/3 of the size of regular American toilet paper. And so I'll show that to you sometime. I'll pull the 2 up because it was really funny getting this package of 10 little tiny toilet papers. I'm not sure if you can even use them, but I think I'm going to use them as joke gifts because it's really great. Back to COVID-19 and lust of the eyes. Hey, another question. How much stuff have you bought on Amazon? Have you been bored? And oh, my wife just brought in, Lisa just brought in tiny toilet paper. Look, tiny toilet paper. It's actually it's softine. It's got Frenchy stuff on it too. But these things are 1/3 of the size of regular toilet paper. They're awesome. I'm so excited about it. I think it was a good buy. Speaking of though, how much stuff on Amazon have you bought? You're like, I'm bored. Shopping therapy, yay! But how much of that stuff did you need? This is I gotta be honest, this is my problem. I love buying crap. I just love little crap. And there's this Chinese site called Joom, JOOM.com. They don't charge a shipping fee, and all their stuff is like inexpensive. And I'd love going to that site and just buying little crap, nicky nacky stuff. Do I need any of it? No, but do I desire it? Yeah. Could my money be better spent? Absolutely. Are there people in need I should be paying for their rent and food? Mm-hmm. Am I too busy on Amazon in June? Yeah. So I've had to cut myself down quite a bit and restrain my lust of the eyes because I like shiny things. I like little nicky nacky things. I love having stuff. As you look around the back of me, books are one of my one of my addictions. I probably own a couple thousand books. The bookshelves you see here, there's actually more of them upstairs. I just love stuff. And it's a psychological thing. I grew up without stuff, so now I have stuff. But is it God honoring? Or am I just lusting in the eyes? And I'll be honest, it's lust of the eyes. And during quiet times, when I'm not doing stuff, doesn't it say that idleness is the devil's play shop? Isn't that what he says? Something like that? Idle hands or whatever it is. So you're bored, got nothing else to do. You've watched all the movies. There's nothing good on Netflix or whatever it is. So I'll just take a look at Amazon and see what's going on. Or for me, I'll scroll through Joom and see what I can find. I'm always going to find something, aren't I? Right? So that's another way during COVID that lust of the eyes can play itself out. And you'll end up going beyond your budget. And that's what you're supposed to do. So let me ask you this. Lust of the eyes. Did you get envious? Is something somebody else had? Did you get mad that people had toilet paper and you didn't? Did you get mad that all the disinfectant wipes are gone and those jerks took them all? Do you get mad that people are going out shopping and you're not? Right? You get mad at the stuff you see. That's also lust of the eyes because you're comparing and you're getting emotionally upset about other people. There's a great story in the Bible. I just love this story. Um, Peter is just such a fantastic character. Jesus has been resurrected. He's walking with Peter, and this is before he ascends. Not Peter, but Jesus. And he's telling Peter, look, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to go minister and do all this stuff, but you're going to get killed. And this is, he's basically telling him, look, it's not going to work out for you. You're going to do all this stuff, but you're going to die this way. Peter is Peter, so he's not really paying attention. He looks behind him, and he sees John, and he goes, Jesus, what about him? And you can just see Jesus go, oh, Peter, you're killing me. You're just killing me. He says, don't worry about John. Worry about you. And it's a great lesson for us in Scripture because don't worry about other people. Worry about you. If other people want to buy 17,000 rolls of toilet paper, God bless them, right? Trust in God's provision for you. Don't envy. Don't get mad that other people are doing things or getting things or whatever that you're not. God will provide. Everything in life is a lesson or a blessing, and take it as that. So even if you're going through a hardship, allow God to use all things for the good of those who love him. Allow him to use your circumstances to get you through the thing and teach you and move you forward, right? But don't have lust of the eyes when you're comparing yourself to others, because that's a really dangerous place to go to. Oh, here's the last one. Oh, this was so convicting for me because I suck at this. What are you watching? What kind of stuff are you filling your mind with during COVID? You know, we're all at home. And when I moved to a new place and I don't have dish TV anymore. I had dish at my old place and I tried to get it here and there's too many trees. So I did this Sling thing and I did Amazon Prime because I had that, but I never put it on TV. So I got one of those old Fire Stick things. And I have Netflix. I've never done that before either. And oh my gosh, the world has opened up. There's so many great movies. Oh my gosh, I have this list long of all these things I want to watch. And I find myself watching them, and some of them are just filling my mind with garbage. Honestly, I mean, I'm watching these. Some of them are interesting. There's some documentaries and some war films that are true story kind of stuff, which I really enjoy. But some of it's just total garbage that I'm doing, and I'm entertaining myself. I'm entertaining myself with that, right? Some of you are entertaining yourself with some really stupid books. Some of you are entertaining yourself with stuff you shouldn't be entertaining yourself with, because we're bored. We're bored. I mean, sitting at home all the time. If you're not working, you're really bored. If you are working, it still gets to you just kind of being home, right? And so you're filling this time that you usually would be out. You'd be, visiting with friends, out at church, shopping, whatever you do. Now you're filling it with stuff, right? And it's lust of the eyes. What are we desiring? I'm desiring escape. I'm desiring entertainment. Please make my mind just do something. But what are we filling it with? And again, I am the worst. I have no room to talk on this one whatsoever. I love vampire movies. I love shoot 'em ups. I love martial art movies. I love war movies. I mean, all sorts of secular stuff that I love. And honestly, most of the Christian stuff I watch, they're okay, but they become a little bit formulaic, right? And they are so sweet. Sometimes it makes your teeth hurt. It's like, oh, I just don't have those same experiences in life as some of these things. There's some good ones. Revelation Road's a great one. God's Not Dead is pretty good, especially for a new believer. It's great. I've seen some really good stuff, but some of it's like, I think about watching and go, oh, I just don't want to do it. Give me the Expendables or something. But lust of the eyes, what I want to watch versus what God would have me watch, what I want to put in my head versus what God wants me to put in my head are different things. And during COVID, here's Satan going, hey, I got an idea. Why don't you watch this really bloody, gory film? It'd be relaxing, because for me it is, which is weird, but okay. How about Jesus? Jesus, it said Jesus was pure, and if you look at the Greek word, it actually meant single-minded. He was focused. He didn't get distracted. And this is important for lust of the eyes. Jesus didn't get distracted. And if you remember his temptation in the desert by Satan, he overcame pride of life, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Adam and Eve fell because of those three, and then Jesus was tempted in all three of those, and he overcame them. And he says, man shall not live by bread alone, when he's told to make the rocks bread because of the lust of the flesh, because he was hungry. But when he saw the cities, right? he's like, you can't tempt me with the lust of, you can't do that. You can't tempt me with stuff I shouldn't have. I don't care what I see. So we have to be a little disciplined, and this is the hard part. Got to be disciplined. You got to get to a place where you can say, I am going to try to discipline myself in what my eyes desire. Because I'll be honest with you, in our flesh, what we desire to see, not so good. Go take a walk, enjoy nature. This is one of the best places about my new house. I've got an acre and a half, and I bring my dogs out every morning. And it's 6 a.m. They won't leave me alone. At 6 a.m, we go out, we take a walk around the property. We play ball, we do those things. But it's just it's a really nice way to start the day with God and his nature. And, the only thing about his nature I don't like is the rooster, the chicken that's always crowing in the morning. But beyond that, it's pretty good. And it gets your mindset, and it fills it with the right stuff to start off with. So just remember that during COVID, you're going to be in a place where Satan's going to tempt you to fill your eyes with stuff that's not the greatest for you. Now, I want to make this point. God's not mad at you, right? It's not about your performance anymore. Don't get trapped in that thing like, oh my gosh, God's going to hate me. Really not. He loves you. I always tell people he loves you right where you are, but he loves you enough not to leave you there. Right? We're always supposed to be improving, and it is a process. So don't think I'm like preaching at you to be all judgmental and stuff, because I'm not. What I'm saying is, during COVID, we're going to get attacked in areas where we have some weak spots, and that's just it, because it's quiet and we're not active, and it's a great time for Satan to attack us. So let's talk about lust of the flesh real quick. Lust of the flesh is fulfilling your physical desires. Your flesh desires. Now, I want to talk about this in a weird way. When you think about your physical desires, you're really thinking about, eating or, whatever physical needs you have. But I want to go and talk about it from a physical, a mental, emotional, and spiritual perspective. I want to talk about all four: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So let's talk about what it always means to be tempted in lust of the flesh in those four areas. So physically, you can fall into the trap of eating crap instead of working out. This is one of the things that happens when there's downtime. You get out of routine. And so, like, I got a buddy, Arsenio. He's a great guy. Arsenio is this Jamaican kid. We call him the Jamaican Hulk. He just recently deadlifted 550 pounds. The guy's a monster. But his routine was he would go to work, and then after work every day he would go to the gym and lift, do his thing, and then come home and drink his little energy drinks or whatever he's doing, and powder drinks. And he had a routine. Well, when the gym's closed, his routine ended. And so he's had struggle trying to keep the routine. Now, the other thing that my Jamaican friend likes, he called me a Jamaican. He adopted me. Actually, we adopted him. He's kind of our son. The other thing he likes is Popeye's chicken, and he loves Taco Bell, and he loves junk food. He's been really good about not eating it when he's in his routine, but I haven't asked him. But I have a sneaking suspicion that during COVID, he's fallen off the wagon a little bit. Why? You're bored. You can't do the things you need to do. You get out of routine, and once you get out of routine, you start to slide, you start to backslide. And physically, you can do that by changing your diet. Now, what happens when you change your diet? Too much sugar, too much of that crap, you end up lethargic. Now, I am no one to talk about how to eat healthy, because I don't. There's a reason I'm an adult, because I want to buy Captain Crunch and not get in trouble for it. But you got to take care of yourself, and so you can't just sit on the couch and eat bonbons and watch Oprah. You gotta still work out. You got to keep a routine. You got to keep going. And this is the thing about COVID. There's nothing going on. Exercise. If you made a New Year's resolution back in January that I'm going to get in shape this year, well, now's your time. There's nothing else going on. Go work out. Go have fun. Go do it. Get off the couch. Stop eating crap. How about this one? Because there's no routine, you haven't thought about creating a new one. Now, here's the thing about Satan. He will get you to stop. Remember what I said? He doesn't worry about people that aren't doing things. And so the more apathetic he can make you about everything, the better, because the less of a threat you are to him. And so while Jesus teaches us that he's sacrificed himself So he sacrificed his physical desires. He sacrificed lust of the flesh, right? Man doesn't live by bread alone, but every word that comes from the mouth of God. He didn't have a place to lay his head. He sacrificed. Here we are. We don't even want to make a new routine. We just kind of want to laze around. So I would tell you, during COVID-19, Satan's going to say, don't worry about it. You'll get back to things. You'll get back in a saddle once work starts up again, or once church starts up again, or once you get back in your routine. It'll all work out. Just hang out. You need a break. You deserve to rest. Take a nap every day. It'd be good for you. And then you're completely unproductive for God. And so what I'd say is, this is a great opportunity to start something new, right? So if you are going to work, hey, God bless you. Way to go. But new routines. And it's okay. Don't get trapped in the same old day after day, Groundhog Day. This is a great opportunity to do different things you've always wanted to do. So don't just sit there around the house and physically waste away because of COVID, and you're not motivated to do something. You don't feel like it. Would any of us do anything if we had to feel like it to do it in the first place? I don't think so. How much stuff do we do that I don't feel like doing? I love this. There's this leadership book by a guy named Dick Marchenko, and he was the SEAL Team 6 commander for some years. And in his book, he says, there's a commandment. Thou hast not to like it. Thou hast simply to do it. And I love that, because it's like, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. Go do it. And you'll be glad you did, honestly. So physically. How about mentally? One of the things that can happen, and I've noticed this around here, you don't keep your mind sharp. If you're not engaging with people in conversation, and you're not being challenged, and you're just not, even at work, you're not doing the kind of things at work that keep you sharp, keep you thinking. You're analyzing, or doing strategic thinking, or critical thinking, those kind of things. Man, you just kind of, you lose it. You're just kind of reading social media all day, filling your mind with that nonsense. We've got to not do that during COVID, because again, Satan would be very happy if you didn't think at all. Satan would be very happy if you stopped meditating on the word every day. Satan would be very happy if you didn't have wrestling matches with God over stuff, right? That would make his day, because then again, you're not effective. So this is a great time, because here I have time, and there are things that God and I are wrestling about, and God wants you to wrestle with him. There's things in life you got to just go, God, I don't understand this, or come on, I don't agree. I'm struggling here, and you get to wrestle with him. And those are really intellectually difficult and challenging and rewarding times. So why aren't you using your time to wrestle with God? Why are you letting your mind slip, right? You can still connect with friends, Christian friends. You should still have an accountability partner that you're meeting with. Well, I don't care whether it's Zoom or text, or, we're not in prison. I don't know where you're at, but here in Oregon, you can see people. We're not in jail. My accountability partner comes over. We meet and talk about life, and our faith and our walk and where we're at. You can still do all that stuff. And so do it. Don't let your mind slide just because I don't feel like it. I'm a little lethargic. Things have, it's COVID-19. I got to stay at home order, blah, blah, blah. Come on. That's not an excuse. Actually, there are no excuses in life, right? What's that saying? Excuses are like noses. Everyone's got one. So, as a Christian, don't use an excuse. Just go do it. How about this? You can have podcasts, you can read, you can watch sermons. I got a guy, Robert Bailey, is a buddy of mine, and he spends all his time on YouTube watching sermons. There's a guy named Paul Young he watches some other folks, watches me. Hey, Robert, if you're watching, nice to see you. Great guy. I mean, he's always in the Word. He's always watching sermons, and he's always learning. And it challenges them, and yeah. So heck, you could do that. That's why YouTube exists. There's plenty out there to look at. Here's another thing we do mentally that I think is a lust of the flesh. We play this what if game, and it's a very dangerous thing to do in my mind. You're trying to predict the future. What if this happens, or what if that happens, or how will I handle this? I think it's fruitless. Doesn't Scripture say, Jesus told us, don't worry about tomorrow. Today has enough things to worry about. Relax, right? The what if game satiates a mental need for us to think of like the worst case scenario kind of stuff. Let me ask you a question. Who's the person you talk most to in life? You You talk to yourself the most, right? Is most of what you say positive or negative? For most people, it's negative. So when you do this what if game, you're playing these mental games, of course it's going to come out negative because that's how your brain works. So we can't get trapped by Satan doing this testing of us, saying, well, what if you don't get your job back? What if COVID-19 doesn't end and we're restricted and can't go back to church the way we're used to? What if we have to continue to do social distancing? What if the restaurant fails? What? Oh my goodness. Now, I'm not saying be stupid and leave your brain at the door. You got to think about business and all those different things. But you don't worry about that if you're truly in the faith. We're not worried or anxious for anything, are we? Because we know God's got our future. Things might be rough. We're not immune from hardship, but we can manage and get through it because the Lord is with us. And so I don't need to worry about what tomorrow holds. It is what it is, but Satan's going to try to get you in the lust of the flesh, to try to get you mentally discombobulated, like that word, discombobulated. So, and he's going to do it by negative thinking of what ifs. So the other part is this: mentally, you could get lethargic and lazy, and then you get depressed and angry and irritated. You ever notice that when you're just sitting around thinking, it affects you in kind of bad ways? And so it kind of tags along with this, that you have the negative self-talk and all this kind of stuff. You got to be careful that when there's downtime, that Satan's not playing into your worst angels. It happens. I just think that you could have depression. You just kind of isolate, right? You're just kind of isolating yourself and then you don't have your Christian brothers around you, or brothers and sisters around you to encourage you. Doesn't Scripture say don't stop meeting like some people do? There's a reason for that. We need the encouragement. We need people around us to lift us up and hold us up, because it's hard. Life is hard. And that's why God gave us each other. That's why Jesus said the greatest commandment is love God and love each other. He wants us to be in this relationship. He wants us to have this group of people who can lift us up. I'm looking at some of the people that have joined me. I love these people. I love all the people here that are watching, that I see that are watching. And the reason is, man, they encourage me. They got my back. They lift me up, and it's an awesome thing. And I need them. And during COVID, the tendency will be to not have that, and you'll isolate, and then you'll get depressed and you'll get disconnected, and that's a very bad thing. And that leads us into the emotional part, right? Lust of the flesh. Emotionally, you will distance yourself from people. And you know what? I got to be honest. If you're like me, tell the truth, it's nice. We love being distanced from people. It's funny. Everyone thinks I'm this great big extrovert. I'm actually kind of an introvert. I like being alone. There's this book out I always talk about. The title of it is "But Lord, the Sheep Stink." It's a book by a pastor talking about how hard pastoral leadership is, pastoral ministry, because the congregation sometimes hard, and ministry sometimes is hard because you're working with people that can be a real challenge, right? I did a sermon once called "Extra Grace Required People." There are people that require extra grace. It's really, really hard sometimes, and getting a break from people can be really nice. You don't have the friction, you don't have the arguments, you don't have the conflict. It's nothing. You're just alone, and you can fall in the trap saying, "Gosh, this is really, really nice." That's not what we're called to. This is my disagreements with the monks that kind of left society and started the monasteries. I get that they wanted to be completely committed to God. I have no problem with that, but that's not what Jesus said in Matthew 28. He said, "Go out into the nations." He didn't say go out to the monastery, make chocolate and beer. Go out to the nations. You have to engage people. Jesus went out and he dealt with everybody, and he met everybody where they were. Remember that time he says, "How long am I have to put up with you people?" He was so frustrated by them. But we don't get to just emotionally disconnect from people during COVID. And that's what Satan wants you to do. He wants you to emotionally disconnect. You're fine by yourself. You don't need anybody else. See how that also plays into the pride of life, right? Another thing will happen. You will have misunderstandings due to social distancing because we're not connected like we were, because we don't see each other eye to eye, because we're doing things by text and Zoom and all that stuff. You can misunderstand somebody in an email. You can misunderstand people's feelings. You can step on people's feelings and not mean to. All sorts of things can happen. Uh, and then we start taking things personally, right? We start getting offended. Well, didn't Jesus say, don't be offended? Turn the other cheek? Wasn't that one of the commands? We can get to a place emotionally where we're really kind of raw, we're kind of on the edge, and we're reacting poorly because of lust of the flesh. We're trying to satiate our flesh with comfort and good things, and instead we're doing bad things, and we're getting the result of it, right? We're reaping what we sow. Lastly, you won't do self-care. This is interesting. One of the things I used to, when I was at the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, Renee was with me during this. Poor Renee had to go through this with me so many times. We would have these conferences, and I would always just bang on self-care because at our job, we had 8 hours a day where we dealt with the problems of veterans. And then you'd go home and deal with your own problems. Then you come back to work and deal with the veteran problems. And you go home and deal with your own problems. And this was just Groundhog Day forever. And after about 2.5 years, you'd burn out if you didn't take care of yourself. Well, same's true emotionally in our faith. If you feel that you're disconnected from people that are encouraging you, and you feel disconnected from God because your prayer life isn't what it's supposed to be, or you're not meditating on the word, or you're not going to church and you miss and all these different things, if you disconnect, you're not taking care of yourself. And then your self-esteem drops, and then you get depressed, and then the cycle spins, and there's a spiral that happens, and then you just really isolate even further and further and further. And you got to be really careful about that. So here's what you got to do. You got to reach out when the spiral happens. And you also need to tell people, hey, I've got this problem, and make sure people are checking in on you, because that's really important too. Hey, can you make sure once a week, a couple times a week, you're checking in on me, make sure I'm okay. That's a bueno thing. That's what we do as brothers and sisters in the faith. But be proactive. Today, I actually reached out to half a dozen people I haven't talked to in a while, just to see how they're doing. And everyone's fine, right? But they appreciate that someone's reaching out, checking in on them, right? So I just tell you, be careful in the emotional set of the lust of the flesh. It's a weird way to look at it, but I don't want you to miss it. Lastly, the spiritual aspect of lust of the flesh. Spiritual aspect. Think about this. As we isolate in the safe zones, right? We're social distancing. We're not getting engaged in the church. We're not having fellowship. We're not doing Bible studies. We're not doing the things that feed us. You can get distant from God. And if you're someone that follows a spiritual leader, and you kind of rely on that leader to help connect you to God, to be that conduit for you, you're really going to suffer. You're really going to be disconnected from God. And that's a spiritual issue. Now, during that time, what Satan, you are disconnected from God. Don't worry about it. You'll get it back later. Or he'll say, you don't need God right now. Or he'll say, God's busy. He's got all these other things he's dealing with. He's not going to deal with you. That's none of it's true, obviously. But also what happens then when you're disconnected, you stop listening for the Holy Spirit. I can tell you, the Holy Spirit's not stopped talking to me during COVID. I'm still getting direction. He's telling me to preach. He's telling me what to preach. He's telling me what to do. I'm still as connected as always. And it's not just because I'm a pastor. It's because I'm intentional. I've not allowed lust of the flesh to affect me spiritually at all. I'm still feeding off Jesus. Nothing changed. Nothing about COVID-19 has changed my faith. Nothing about COVID-19 has changed my relationship to God. Nothing about it has changed me and Jesus doing stuff together. Nothing. Yeah, I'm doing sermons online instead of at the facility. Big deal. I'm still doing them, right? I'm not allowed this to change anything. And I'm afraid for a lot of my Christian friends, it has allowed them to change how they're connecting with God spiritually. And how they're doing is they're kind of existing and not living. Jesus says, I want you to have life and have it abundantly. Well, how do you have a life abundantly if you're stuck in your house, right? There's so many ways. There's so much to do. Given that there's the internet, if you can afford the internet and all that, great. Now, even if you can't afford the internet, there are things that you can meditate on. If you're someone who doesn't have a Bible or has a need, let me know. Just send me a note. I'll take care of all this stuff for you. but there's so much you can be doing right now spiritually. Um, uh, yeah, sometimes I just read a verse and I'll chew on that for a week. I don't need to read anything else. I told you before, I don't like the reading plans for the year because I think it's like reading a book and it's not really getting the depth of meditating on the word. So if you have to read the Bible and it takes you 3 years to get through it, great. Chew on it. Just do it every day. Just take a verse a day. I don't care. There's so much spiritually we can do. Your prayer life can be improved. Your prayer life for other people can be improved. One of the tricks I've told you about before is you go through your Facebook friends list and you just start praying for each one of those people, even the people you don't know that you're friends with, that you had no idea how you became friends with them. Pray for them. I mean, I got like 1,000 people on my list. I have no idea how. It would take me hours, which is awesome, right? Don't just exist. Live abundantly. Because again, nothing has changed with COVID-19. I just want you to know that these tactics of Satan, I'm kind of looking at my notes here, see where I'm at. And of course, I'm nowhere close to what I wrote. These tactics of Satan are true and they're real and they're subtle. You're not supposed to see them. He doesn't want you to know that he's attacking you with pride of life, lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. He wants you to think that it's just Tuesday. It's just Sunday. It's just Wednesday. Don't worry about any of this stuff. Just kind of follow your own way. Be in control, right? Do all these things. Don't submit to God. Everything's fine. You're good to go. And I just think that's a very dangerous place. Last thing. I don't think Satan's that tricky. He's smarter, faster, stronger, all that stuff because he's a fallen angel. He's an angel. Angels were made a little higher than us, according to Scripture. But he's not tricky. What he does is what he does. And his tactics are always the same. He tells half-truths. He tries to get you to think you're God and you're smarter than God. He tries to get you to like things you're not supposed to like and desire stuff. He gets you to want to fulfill your instant gratification and your impulses of your flesh instead of submitting yourself and sacrificing like Jesus, right? I mean, it's a pretty simple game. It doesn't mean it's not a hard game, right? Because our flesh rages against us. And in a COVID-19 environment where you're home and you're stuck and, it's hard to not fall into the traps of what Satan's trying to do to you while you're lethargic and you're lazy and you're bored and all that kind of stuff. So stand firm. I mean, that's my message tonight. Stand firm. Tell Satan, not today, Satan, not today. Understand you're under attack and that you need to double down on this and you need to stand your ground because I believe that we are weakest. We are absolutely the weakest we'll ever be when things seem dull and mundane and boring. And, I think that's when where our guard is most down. So don't fall in that trap. Now is a perfect time for you as a Christian, as a believer, as someone of faith to get out there and shine Christ's light. Show them who Jesus is. Show them the love and the compassion and the strength, the conviction, right? The single-mindedness of it. Nothing should change in your life just because of this. At least your faith life. Yeah, I'm home. Yeah, I'm not going out as much. I wear a mask when I go out. Big deal. Big deal. I'm still talking about Jesus to everyone. I'm still doing what I do. And I want you to understand that we don't worry about what the world worries about. We worry about what God worries about. And he will provide a way for you to do what you're supposed to do, right? Trust in him in all things, right? Lean not on your understanding, but let him be a light to the path that you're going to walk and things will work out for you. So anyway, I hope you're having a great Sunday. It's another week, another Blur's Day. I know that sometime this coming week, maybe tomorrow or Tuesday, I want to preach a sermon on how you write a sermon. I don't know if anybody really knows what goes into preparing a sermon, preparing a message, but it's pretty extensive. And I think it's important you know what work goes into it because it's really not just, hey, I think I'll talk about something tonight and it's my opinion. There's more that goes into it. I think it's important that folks know just the care that God requires of us to do these kind of things, because it's not just winging it, even though it seems like when I do it, I kind of wing it. So anyway, I hope to see you a little later this week when I do that. In the meantime, love you all, miss you all, and glorify God in everything you do. Have a great night.